Today we'll be talking about the decline of the Harappans. The decline of the Harappans is a matter of much debate in the historical arena because it is now politically very sensitive. Uh, Various groups try to portray or try to superimpose their ideology or justify their ideology through uh, Aryan invasion theory. So there are multiple theories regarding the decline of the Harappans. We'll look at them one by one. क्यों in the very beginning आपको ये clear होना चाहिए कि why should we read the decline, the debates regarding the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. See, the contemporary civilizations like the Egyptian civilization, or Mesopotamia, these civilizations continued for thousands of years. हजारों साल तक ये चलते रहे. When it came to the Indus Valley civilization, the IVC, this was a highly urban civilization with flourishing trade with Mesopotamia, Persian Gulf, etc. How on earth Indus Valley civilization declined within a period of say 600 years? What led to the decline of such a flourishing civilization with huge trade potential, internal as well as external trade? Highly developed urban town planning was in existence in the Harappan civilization. So what happened that all of a sudden कि एक civilization घुटना तक आ गया all of a sudden. So this made the historians ponder over the causes, over the reasons that led to the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. We'll be briefly talking about certain theories as propounded or given by certain historians and archaeologists based on their understanding. So, the first theory that we'll discuss here will be the Aryan invasion theory. The Aryan invasion theory. Let's come to the Aryan invasion theory. इसमें क्या हुआ? Aryan invasion theory is now, although it is totally rejected by the archaeologists and serious historians due to lack of archaeological proofs, due to lack of literary proofs and archaeological proofs. But nonetheless, it was a very debatable issue, a much discussed theory in the archaeological and historical sphere. So we'll talk about it briefly. So it was the British archaeologist Mortimer Wheeler who, based on Rigvedic literature and very scant archaeological evidence, propounded this theory of Aryan invasion. The first one is the Rigvedic evidence, that is the literary evidence from the Rig Veda. He selectively uses the word like Haryupura, and Purandar. Purandar was equated with Indra, who destroyed the Harappan forts. Harappan forts or Harappan towns, and hence Purandar. Hence the name Purandar. So this was one of the theory. Then in Rigvedic literature, we have a mention of Haryupura. So this was construed as Harappa by Mortimer Wheeler. Then let's come to the archaeological sources. There were some archaeological sources like some human skeleton discovered from Mohenjo-daro. from Mohenjo-daro. So based on these sources, Mortimer Wheeler came up with his Aryan invasion theory. So, but we need to look at it critically how this cannot be a case because Mortimer Wheeler, being a British archaeologist, was the European, certainly biased towards the European superiority, and this was a subtle way to prove that the Aryans uh, coming from the grasslands of the Europe, where coming from grasslands of Central Asia, which is now accepted. He was he was trying to prove the European superiority, British superiority, in a very subtle way through his alien invasion theory. Also, there are certain conflagration evidences of conflagration uh, from Balochistan and Rajasthan, which points towards clashes between not the Aryans per se, but nomadic hunters and food gatherers who might have lived outside the Harappan cities. It might have been possible that they attacked the Harappan cities, and certain sites were destroyed subsequently. So you have to understand the limitations. The limitations lie in the fact that certain sites might have been affected by this sort of invasion from outside, be it Aryan invasion or be it some nomadic tribes from outside. But it is not possible that an entire civilization with such a huge geographical extent could be uh, destroyed uh, within a short span of time by no matter whoever it may be. So this theory is now rejected in the historical sphere. Now, environmental and climatic factors are given more emphasis. Environment and climatic factors. Here also you have various theories. For example, this was a very famous theory, the theory of flood. That it was John Marshall who tried to show that Mohenjo-daro suffered from multiple instances of flood. In Mohenjo-daro, we have multiple instances of flood. तो इसको जॉन मार्शल ने he tried to show through his research कि there were multiple instances of flood and this led to the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. Let's There is very interesting theory regarding water scarcity. We have seen floods. Now we see drought. And drought were due to tectonic activities. I would say that the Gaggar River, which was supposed to have two tributaries in the form of Satluj and in the form of Yamuna. So, in the process of time, the Satluj River it turned towards the river Indus. The Yamuna River turned towards the river Ganga. This is Ganga. This is in this. So as a result, what happened? This particular region, the river Ghaggar, around the river Ghaggar, this region dried up over a period of time, and as a result, due to drought and extremely dry conditions, uh, various Indus Valley sites around Rajasthan declined. So this was the reason of water scarcity theory. Now there are certain other historians, or this particular theory was given by H.T. Lambrick. You should remember that this was given by H.T. Lambrick. Let's come to another not so very important but still must discuss theory about ecological imbalance due to population explosion. So there was a disproportionate uh, increase in the population as compared to the available resources. So as a result, there was pressure on the natural resources, and obviously, the obvious result was the gradual decline of the Indus Valley civilization. Gurdeep Singh tried to show this through his uh, research on pollen grains from this Pushkar, Dirwana, and Sambar area. As a result of ecological imbalance, there was disturbance in the rainfall pattern, and this facilitated the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. So these are the uh, much discussed Indus Valley civilization, a decline, much discussed theories regarding the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. Also, natural disasters, epidemic, these are also discussed nowadays. But what is very interesting is the fact that now the very idea of decline is being construed in a very different way. Now, according to the historians, there was no decline of the civilization per se. There was only a change or metamorphosis or change in the nature of urban characters or the nature of the civilization. The urban character declined, not decline of the civilization per se, it was the urban character of the civilization that changed. And the population that resided in the urban areas, this population started to migrate to the rural areas. And as a result, the urban character gradually became rural. So it is very interesting that the very idea of decline is being questioned now. Rather than trying to search peculiar reasons, whether this decline due to Aryan invasion, due to ecological imbalance, flood, droughts, epidemics, etc. Uh, a very famous archaeologist D.K. Chakrabarty, he challenges this view, and he says that as the Indus Valley people started moving towards the east, they came in contact with the less developed nomadic hunter and food gatherers. So in the process, the urban character of the Indus Valley people was lost. ठीक है, इंडस वैली पीपल जैसे ईस्ट की तरफ माइग्रेट कर रहे थे, तो वो कांटेक्ट में आए, जो ईस्ट के लोग थे वो उनके कांटेक्ट में आए, who were rather nomadic people, hunters and food gatherers. So as a result, IVC का urban character वो that got lost. But in the process, this eastern people achieved high scale of development uh, due to their contact with the IVC people. So this is a much accepted theory now, and also the idea of a decline is being questioned. It might be a decline of the urban phase, but the civilization per se continues in various forms, in one form or the other. How does the civilization continues? Say, for the example, in the economic sphere, we have this agricultural practices, we have these plows, which continues till date. We have potteries, IVC potteries. We have transport and communication on wheels and vehicles. We have internal and external trade. These things continue till date. How can we say that there was a decline? Come to the social sphere. We have the costumes, dress, jewelry. Let's then come back to the religious sphere, worship of Mother Goddess, Pashupati Shiv. These things continue in the Indian, in the or life of the ordinary Indian still date. So the features of the IVC got assimilated through ages. Uh, though there was a decline in Sarvan character, uh, as we move on from the IVC phase to the Vedic phase, we'll see the uh, emergence of rural centers in India rather than the urban sites of IVC. Will have less developed trade, rather we will have a sort of what can you say, pastoralist lifestyle in the Vedic age, and then we'll see again the re-emergence of urban centers in the period now called the second urbanization. So, in at last, we can conclude by saying that according to new researches, it was the urban character of Indus Valley civilization that declined. The features of Indus Valley continued in the ordinary lives of Indians till date. So that was a brief discussion on the decline theories regarding the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. I hope you've enjoyed it. Uh, Thank you very much.